You wake up on a reed mat under a cotton blanket to the sound of water, not rain, canals. Somewhere close, a canoe is being poled through a channel, and the paddle is dipping in and out of still water in the dark. It is just before dawn. The air smells of lake, of wood smoke, of maize being ground somewhere down the lane. You are in the largest city on earth. It is the year 1518. This city has clean water piped to it, public toilets, a police force, compulsory schooling, and a market bigger than anything in Europe. 250,000 people are waking up around you, more than in London, Paris, and Rome at this moment combined. You have never heard its name spoken by anyone you know. It is called Tenochtitlan, and in 3 years it will be gone. Every temple you are about to see, every canal, every face in the market, gone, inside a single lifetime. But not today. Today the city is whole, and the sun is coming up, and you are about to spend one ordinary day inside a world we lost. Step outside. The first thing that hits you is that the ground is water. Tenochtitlan is built on an island in the middle of a lake, and the city has grown until the island is not big enough, so they have added to it, plot by plot, out into the water. The streets are not all streets. Half of them are canals, and the morning traffic is canoes. Farmers bringing in vegetables, a family heading to market, a boy ferrying somebody's grandmother across the water while she scolds him. Where there is dry footing, there are causeways, long, straight, raised roads of stone and packed earth that run out across the lake to the mainland, wide enough for 10 people to walk abreast. There are 3 of them, and they are engineered with gaps and wooden bridges that can be lifted for flood control and, though no one here is thinking about it this morning, for defense. Look toward the center. Above the flat white rooftops rises a pyramid, twin shrines at its summit, painted red and blue, catching the very first light while the streets below are still in shadow. That is the heart of the city. You will get there. But first, notice something you are not taught to expect. This place is spotless. At this moment in 1518, the great cities of Europe are drowning in their own waste. In Paris and London, people empty chamber pots into the street. Sewage runs past the front door. Disease lives in the gutter. Now look at the lane in front of you. It has already been swept. It will be swept again. 1,000 people are employed to do nothing but keep the city clean, and the streets are washed so regularly that a Spanish soldier who walks them next year will write that you could walk through the city without dirtying your feet. Human waste is not thrown away here. It is collected. Canoes carry it out to be used as fertilizer and to treat cloth. There are public latrines built out over the canals, and the water you would actually drink does not come from the lake, which is salty. It comes from a spring on the mainland at Chapultepec, carried into the city on a stone aqueduct, a double channel so that when one side is being cleaned, the other still flows. The city never goes thirsty. And the food. Look at the edges of the lake, where the water is shallow and green with rectangles of crops. Those are chinampas, artificial islands of mud and reed, staked into the lake bed and planted so densely they can harvest several times a year. Floating gardens, feeding 250,000 people, right up against the city that eats them. You personally will bathe today, probably twice. There is a small steam bath, a temazcal, at the end of the lane, and using it is not a luxury here. It is simply what clean people do. The Europeans who arrive next year will find this baffling. They do not bathe. You do. Now, you can smell breakfast, and beyond it, something enormous. Follow the crowd. Everyone is going the same way. They are going to Tlatelolco, the market. You hear it before you see it, a roar of thousands of voices bouncing off stone. And then you come around a wall, and the space just opens and does not stop opening. Tens of thousands of people are buying and selling in front of you. When the Spanish see this market next year, their most experienced soldiers, men who have stood in Rome, in Constantinople, will say they have never seen anything like it, anywhere, at any size. Everything in the known world is here, and it is organized. Each kind of good has its own section, and there are judges, actual magistrates, seated in the market to settle disputes and check that no one is cheating on measures. Try to sell a false length of cloth here, and you will answer for it before the day is out. Down one row, cotton, dyed in colors Europe cannot make. Feathers, brilliant green quetzal plumes worth more than gold. Then medicine, obsidian blades sharper than any steel. Jade, pottery stacked in towers, live turkeys, honey, vanilla, chocolate. And notice how the woman ahead of you pays. Not with coins. There are none. She counts out cacao beans into the seller's hand. Chocolate is money here. A worker might earn 100 beans in a day. A turkey costs you around 100. A single tomato, one bean. And yes, people forge it, carefully hollowing out a bean and refilling the shell. Even here, even now, somebody is running a scam in the chocolate aisle. You could stay in this market until nightfall. Most people practically do. But the crowd is thinning toward the center of the city, drawn to the thing that has been watching over your whole morning. At the center of Tenochtitlan is a walled sacred precinct, and inside it, the great temple, the Templo Mayor. It rises in stepped terraces higher than a 10-story building, and at the top stand two shrines, one to the rain god, Tlaloc, who decides whether the crops live, and one to Huitzilopochtli, the sun and war god, who, the people here believe, must be sustained, or the sun itself will stop. To understand the city, you have to understand what these people think is at stake every single day. Their cosmology tells them the world has already ended 4 times. The 5th world, this one, the one you are standing in, is on loan. It is kept alive by offering back the most precious thing there is, human life and human blood. To them, this is not cruelty. It is maintenance. It is the rent paid to keep the sun rising over the lake, exactly the way it rose over you this morning. It is a belief that will horrify the men sailing toward this coast right now. It is also a belief held by people who built the cleanest, best organized city on the planet, who wrote poetry about the shortness of life, who wept at their children's schools, who loved this place the way you love your home. History is allowed to be both of those things at once. That is why we come here, not to judge the morning, but to stand in it. The incense is thick. Drums carry across the whole city, and the light is turning gold, which means the day is getting long, and you are getting hungry. Time to go home. Home is a single-story house of adobe and plaster, built around a small courtyard, swept, of course, and simple. Most people here do not live in palaces. They live like this. A few rooms, mats to sleep on, a hearth, a household shrine. Dinner is being made on a flat clay griddle over the fire. Maize dough, patted thin, cooked fast. Tortillas, still the food of this land 500 years from now. With them, beans, squash, tomatoes, chili in almost everything, a little salt from the lake. Meat is rare and mostly for feasts. If the day had been a celebration, there might be a cup of chocolate. Real chocolate. Bitter, spiced, whipped to a foam, a drink for special occasions, not children. After dark, the family talks. Someone recites poetry. The Mexica love it, and their poems return again and again to one idea, that everything beautiful is borrowed and brief. We come only to sleep. We come only to dream. It is not true. It is not true that we come to live on the earth. They say things like this over dinner, casually, the way you might mention the weather. A civilization at the height of its power, telling itself every night that nothing lasts. They have no way of knowing how right they are. It is night now. The market is empty and swept. The canoes are tied. The aqueduct still runs in the dark. 250,000 people are asleep on reed mats around you, on an island, in the middle of a lake, in the greatest city of its world. And the sun god they trust will be back at dawn. He will. The sun will rise over Tenochtitlan tomorrow, and the day after, and for a few hundred more mornings. And then in November of 1519, strangers will come across one of those causeways. Within 2 years, the canals will run with something other than canoes. Disease will empty these houses faster than any army. And this city, the clean one, the bright one, the one you woke up in, will be pulled down stone by stone, and a new city will be built on top of it, hiding it so completely that people will one day forget it was ever here. But that is tomorrow's problem, and tomorrow is a different world. Tonight, the city on the lake is whole, and you were there for one ordinary day of it. I'm going to wake up somewhere else next week. A different city, a different morning, another world we lost. If you want to know where we open our eyes next, tell me in the comments. Of everything you saw today, what surprised you most? I read everyone. Sleep well, you've earned it. You walked a long way today, about 500 years.